Hey guys, SK here, back with another Clash Royale video, and today we are back with the 3.0 Xbow versus Impossible matchup series. So, as you can see right here, we have a very enticing matchup for Xbow Cycle. We have Royal Giant Earthquake with Giant Skeleton, the new champion Archer Queen, Bats, and even Electro Spirit to give it a faster cycle. So, this is a matchup that I would consider an impossible matchup for Xbow, quote unquote, since obviously I was able to beat it. But the way I define it is any matchup that, if played by a relatively competent player, should never be lost by them against Xbow Cycle, and I believe this is one of them. It has been quite a few months since my last episode of this series. I had no intention of discontinuing it or anything, but I just haven't really gotten a great match against an impossible matchup for me to analyze, and I believe this is a pretty good one. So before we get into the analysis, I just wanted to say thank you all so much for the support on my recent commentary videos. My computer is still giving me issues, but I figured out another way to use my microphone in the meantime, so I will still be planning to continue commentary videos as much as I can, so do look forward to those, and I will do my best. But this match is from the global tournament. So as you can see, I'm at 12 wins right now, 12-0. Not too great yet, but I was high enough to the point where I would say these kind of matchups aren't really played by terrible players. As you can see, it was my, I believe, 11th win in the global tourney. I did also get these two other matchups, Hog Earthquake Cycle and Rascal's Logbait with Rocket Cannon Cart Golden Knight. All of these I would consider really hard counters to Xbow, so I'm pretty happy I was able to beat all of them in a row, to be honest. But the main focus of this episode is going to be this Royal Giant Earthquake deck, since I think it's probably the worst and hardest matchup for sure. For the Hog Earthquake one, I get a bunch of questions about this matchup all the time, and I do actually already have a video against that. It is actually episode 1 of this impossible matchup series, and the balances have kind of changed since that episode, but pretty sure the way you play the matchup is exactly the same. I don't think the Tesla nerf or anything would change how you're supposed to play against it too much, so if you're interested in that matchup, I will link episode 1 of the series in the description below, and you can check that out. But for now, we have this matchup right here, and what I'm going to do is kind of break down why I was able to win it, because in this kind of matchup, again, as I said, you should really not be able to win against a competent player, but Xbow is the kind of deck where you can outplay pretty much any matchup, even hard counters like this one, as long as you know exactly what to look for and exactly which opportunities to capitalize on. So this is the kind of matchup that you are absolutely not going to win unless you get an Xbow connection, and I did get, I believe, 2 connections in this game. We'll see as we go along, but we'll look into exactly how I was able to get those connections and how you can apply what I did in this match to a match that you play against a similar kind of deck. But with all that being said, let's get into the match. I guess this is kind of similar to my recent analysis video series where I've been analyzing matchups. For example, I did the Balloon Cycle one, which I did a few days ago. I was pretty proud of that one, but I think I'll kind of do a similar kind of analysis, but maybe not as long. We'll see. In any case, I believe he cycled an Earthquake first play, and that is already pretty annoying considering the fact that he has Earthquake and Electro Spirit. Kind of tells me that he has a fast cycle Earthquake deck, and that is never great to see, especially because if they know what they're doing, they usually know that cycling an Earthquake isn't very punishing. It's not a huge commitment kind of play like cycling a Fireball first play with our deck would be, because Earthquake's only 3 elixir, and if they have a fast cycle, they can always cycle back to another one. So just a pretty frustrating play to encounter in my opinion, and that's why I was already kind of frustrated at the start of this match. But you obviously can't let your mentality get to you. You still have to play it the best you can if you want to be able to win against a matchup like this. So I go for an Xbow right away. Since he went for an Earthquake already, I was like, okay, he's wasted one of his main counters to Xbow. Let's see what he has. And he comes out with the Royal Giant. So not great to see at all, but as you can see, my archers actually DPS down his RG. That is pretty much always the play you're going to want to do if they go RG on your Xbow. Archers is the best play by far in my opinion, since they have a lot of DPS. They can take the RG down a bunch of HP while it's damaging the Xbow, and they should be able to fully counter it with a bit more support. So as you can see, I'm going to log the RG back in a little bit. Also make sure to clip the tower, and it's fully taken care of. He was able to log my archers, but log doesn't fully take them out. Now he does have log Electro Spirit, and that's really annoying as well. So we're going to see some ways that I circumvent that combination so that he's not able to take out my archers. Now he goes for a giant skeleton in the back. Kind of unpunishable, honestly, since I don't even have Expo in cycle, and even if I did, he has Archer Queen, he has Earthquake, so really kind of an unfortunate situation overall. I go for an E-Spirit at the bridge, just to try and get some damage, especially because he already cycled an Earthquake in the left, so this is the tower that I want to get damage on. He goes for Bats and E-Spirit. E-Spirit does actually chain onto my archers, but I'm really glad he didn't go for an Earthquake on them, since I was able to DPS down his push pretty well. And here I find out he has an Archer Queen. So at this point, I've seen every card in his deck except for the Fisherman. So I know exactly what I'm dealing with. I know what his cycle is if I'm going to track it. I know what to watch out for. And that is also important, especially in these impossible matchups. You need to know what your opponent's going to be having and what they're going to have in cycle. Since if you just try and guess, you can use like a general idea, but if you just try and guess what they have, it's not going to be great, since you want to play as accurately as possible. And in order to do that, you're going to need some more information than just what you can see. So you're going to need to track their cycle, have a general sense of their elixir, and these are all kind of skills that come in handy against any matchup. Now he has an Archer Queen coming down, and based on my cycle, I definitely don't want to waste a Tesla, considering he has RG. It's going to be my main counter to the Royal Giant, so I definitely don't want to waste that. I don't really want to go E-Spirit, since Skeletons isn't even in cycle. So if I went E-Spirit and he pops the ability, it'll take a bit for the Skeletons to come into my hand. As you guys know, when the card that's up next is kind of in that weird spot. That's also how you can get drag glitch sometimes. But yeah, pretty much just based on my hand, fireballing the Archer Queen back is the best play. And he tried to predict my Knight, I guess? I don't know, because I didn't even have it in cycle. With the Fisherman, I go for an E-Spirit, and I'm actually surprised that it didn't fully counter this Fisherman. It actually gets a hit, and that's kind of awkward, because now he has damage in the lane that I wanted to go in, and I have to switch lanes now. I recognize that right away. You can never be going same lane against an Earthquake deck, ever, unless you already have a huge lead, and that's actually what I do later on. But right now, I realize if I go same lane as him, every time I go for an Expo, he's just going to get Earthquake value on my Expo and my weaker health tower, so I'm going to have to swap right away. Now I split Skeletons and cycle my log. As you can see, I'm already cycling my log opposite lane, recognizing that I need to switch lanes. And I split my archers. I'm really hoping he's going to go for either an RG or Giant Skeleton in the back, because if he does that, he's going to be at 4 elixir, it's going to be single elixir time, and he won't have enough for the other card in time for my Expo if I go Expo right away. So that's why you can see I have Expo selected right now. It is one way you can beat RG Giant Skeleton to single elixir if they're not careful. Of course, this guy isn't really bad, so he didn't waste either of those two cards, and I didn't get that opportunity. He just cycles Archer Queen, which is only 5 elixir. And I'm going to take that fireball value, because, again, I'm switching lanes. I kind of need to switch lanes, and that'll take care of the Archer Queen anyway. He goes through the ability, so I believe what I do here is go Skeletons on the RG, then I have log and log the Archer Queen back. Let's see. Yep, that's exactly what I do, and I go for a Tesla, and this is very critical. So you're going to want to be going for this Tesla placement. As you probably know if you're an Expo player, this is the anti-earthquake, anti-lightning Tesla placement. And it's just going to be the main placement that you use so that they can't hit both your tower and Tesla with their spell. So you're going to want to be, if they go for the spell on your tower, you're going to be saving your Tesla, preserving it, and having your Tesla stay alive to take out their big push. If they waste their spell on your Tesla, it's not great since you still have the push to deal with, but you did mitigate damage on your tower, and so that's kind of the basis behind this placement. So that's what I do, and it's on this exact tile, 1 tile down from the river. As you can see, it does, I believe, fully take out the RG, and it just barely doesn't get another hit, which is perfect. Now I'm going to go for an offensive Xbow because he wasted Giant Skeleton, and I think it might be in range of my Xbow. It is, but you're going to see a very important play right now that I make. And so, as you might or might not know, this is another trick. With Xbow, there are always going to be these kinds of tricks that you can use to get a match in your favor, especially against hard counters. And one of them is going to be to kite troops targeting, tanking your Xbow, taking its targeting into this kind of area on the map, as you can see with my pointer on the screen. So we have the troop here, and the Xbow's sight range goes to about this kind of area. So if you can kite them out of range over here where I'm placing my E-Spirit, they will actually get out of range of your Xbow, and you can possibly get a tower connection. So that's what I try and do, and I actually get it done, because my opponent wasn't expecting me to make that play. He wasn't prepared with his RG. He wanted the Giant Skeleton to tank for a bit more, which makes sense. It is a very high HP troop, and it was using the resource to the best of his ability, but I was able to capitalize on his kind of he was becoming kind of complacent, I guess, since he didn't play anything. He probably could have gone for the RG anyway, and it wouldn't have made much of a difference. So he got a bit complacent there, a bit lazy, and he clearly had enough elixir for the RG, but didn't get it down in time. So I get a connection, and he goes for bats, and then RG right away. I go for Knight, since of course I have to tank for the Giant Skeleton. I can't let that connect to my tower, because that'll be huge, but I do get a big connection. Unfortunately, I'm not even up that much damage, but in any case, I go for archers. Archers are really good DPS. In this matchup, you really only have two main sources of DPS for the RG, and they're going to be the archers and the Tesla. You also have the Knight, but a lot of the time you're going to have your Knight either take on the Giant Skeleton or pulled away by the fisherman. So if any of those happen, you're going to need to rely on your archers or Tesla. So I go for my archers right away, and I believe he might waste an earthquake here. He does, and I go for a Tesla in the lower placement because I kind of want him to waste an earthquake here. Even if he went for earthquake on my Tesla and tower, I don't think I would have taken that much damage. And since you can see he's only at 3 elixir right now, I'm at 5, about to hit 6, I want to go for an Xbow, and I don't want him to have earthquake in cycle. So I kind of tried to bait out his earthquake here with a lower Tesla placement. I know I was just talking about how the anti-earthquake one above is crucial, but you really want to vary your placements based on the situation. This is one situation that calls for that, so I play it lower. He goes for earthquake on my archers, and it is kind of smart, I guess, but he could have hit my Tesla too. He didn't, so I go for an Expo right away before the RG even dies, since I knew that the Tesla would take it out before it damaged my Expo. Here I'm going to cycle to my Knight to tank for the Giant Skeleton. I wait for it to cross the bridge though, and he's trying to cycle back to his RG. And you'll see right here, another play that I make is a last second log, and you see that I get another connection. And so a lot of the time with Expo, what you can do is you can log something that's tanking for your Expo at the last second, log it back. They might not be expecting it, and so they won't react fast enough, and you can actually get your Expo on tower. That is another crucial kind of trick. So I waited for the Giant Skeleton to cross to my side so that I could get the tower to DPS it down alongside my Knight and Archer. And then, as you can see, he doesn't even have enough elixir for an RG right now, so I log it back at the last second, and I get a connection. And that log was actually perfect timing as well. Since the Giant Skeleton bomb didn't hit my Expo, I was able to preserve the HP of it, so it tanked for the RG a bit more, and got even bigger of a connection. So again, as I was talking about, archers on the RG on your Expo sounds a bit convoluted, but basically when they go for RG onto your Expo, again, like I said before, archers is a really good play to DPS it down. I do that right here, and he goes for a pretty aggressive archer queen. And so we go for another low Tesla, I believe, since if he wants to earthquake, he won't really have elixir to support his push. I go for a fireball too, since I was kind of expecting him to earthquake. He didn't, and he wastes the ability here. So I just log, and the fireball knockback is also really good, since if they go for the ability, it kind of saves you time, since the time that the queen is spent getting knocked back also kind of bleeds into the ability's time. So that's why fireball and log are really good against the queen in some situations too. And here you'll see I'm down elixir now, because I went pretty aggressive with that push, as I really wanted to. I think it was absolutely worth it. I have an 800 damage lead, and if I play perfectly, I can actually keep that lead now and maybe set myself up to win the match. So I'm going to have to defend pretty well, though. He goes for bats, and I was going to E-Spirit, but I realized that he's going to let them cross, so no need to waste my E-Spirit. I just go for archers, set up in the back again, and he's going to try and go for E-Spirit log onto my archers, probably. So what I do right now to mitigate that is I immediately stop the giant skeleton with my knight at the bridge, and so you'll see that he logs my archers, but I keep them alive, and they're still DPSing down the giant skeleton. So I log and go for archers again. You can see that I'm really stacking archers. They are absolutely key in a matchup like this. Our Earthquake does not kill archers, and normally Giant Skeleton RG Earthquake decks used to run Barb Barrel, so archers were also a huge component in the matchup back then as well. If you guys remember the Giant Skeleton RG Fisherman Hunter deck that was meta about a year ago, archers were a huge part of beating that matchup as well, as they are here. And so he goes for Earthquake again, probably to take out my archers, but I'm protecting them really well. I log everything back, and one interaction that you guys also have to know against the Queen is that Fireball plus log leaves it at basically 1 HP. So I don't know the number exactly, but I mean it looks really close to 1 HP anyway. And so Fireball plus log plus anything like a Princess Tower hit or an E-Spirit hit, anything like that will actually take out the Queen. And so that is a crucial piece of knowledge in this matchup again, because now I know that I can just E-Spirit to take out the Queen. He wastes his Earthquake, so I can even go for a low Tesla. I go for a high one anyway. I guess, let's see. It was basically at the same time that he went for his Earthquake. But E-Spirit and Skeletons, and Archer doesn't get a hit. So he is cycling logs and Earthquakes on my tower, and you can see that he's catching up. So, but I can't get complacent and just fireball his tower as well, since I need all the elixir in the world to defend his push, and fireball is also really important against his Archer Queen. So I'm not fireball cycling yet. I will in triple. That is, again, something to know. You have to know how much elixir to leave yourself with to be able to defend. So right now I go for a knight. He goes for a high queen, I guess trying to snipe something, but I try and snipe it back. Here, another very important thing. You'll see that the queen kind of walks towards my knight. I realize that it's not targeting my knight right away, so I want to wait for it to target my knight, and then I go for my high Tesla. And the reason for that is because the knight's HP is a lot more beneficial if it's tanking for my Tesla. I don't want the queen to just take out my Tesla and not have it in cycle or on the map for the RG, so I'm using the knight to tank for my Tesla. Pretty basic thing, but just a reason why I waited there. And again, I'm cycling my archers in the back, same lane, the whole time. So Tesla gets on the queen. He's going to be forced to use the ability if he wants to save it, and he does. I log the queen back, and Tesla does barely not take it out, but E-Spirit does. I'm already cycled back to another Tesla. I go for a lower one since he wasted an Earthquake, and now I'm going to defensive Xbow. Since he wants to keep on Earthquaking on my tower, now is the time to defensive Expo. You'll notice that I didn't defensive Expo beforehand, because there wasn't really a time. He was constantly applying pressure, and defensive Expo works best if they don't have a push on the map yet. If they are just about to set up for one, it could work out, but if he goes RG at the bridge and go for defensive Expo, it's obviously not going to get that much value. And so that's why I was pretty patient with my defensive Expos. This is, I believe, the first one I did the whole game. So, again, Expo timing's another huge part of Expo. But you guys already knew that. So, now, I'm still up in damage, but I'm going to need to fireball. I realize that his queen is barely in range. I'm really glad that I was able to hit that queen. If I didn't, I could have lost, honestly. But I just barely clip it with my fireball, reacting in time. And I know that log E-Spirit will fully take it out again, and that's exactly what I do. So, knight, archers, he goes for Earthquake, hitting my archers and tower, not my Tesla or my Expo. So again, really good situation for me, and my Expo still has some HP left in it, maybe about 10 seconds or so, and that's all I need. So now I'm comfortable enough to start fireball cycling, because I know that he's going to start Earthquake cycling, probably. And so I want to match it, and I don't want to let him out-damage me at all. there's his Earthquake. There are my archers. I'm going to go Knight, Log, and get back to yet another Fireball. So you can see that he's getting pretty close. Earthquake does do more damage than the Fireball, which is also pretty unfortunate for this matchup, considering that Earthquake's only 3 Elixir, Fireball is 4. So that's why it's such a good counter to Xbow, but here I win, and I'm BMing him a lot. I think I was just really happy I was able to beat a matchup like that. I didn't want to take an early loss in the global tourney to a matchup like that, especially, so I'm really glad I was able to beat it. But yeah, that's just why I BM'd, and that is overall the strategy that I used against Giant Skeleton, Royal Giant, Earthquake. This version is even worse, honestly, because usually they have Barb Barrel instead of Log. Barb Barrel is annoying for your Xbow, but it isn't good at dealing with your archers at all, and it isn't good at spell cycling either. So those are 2 benefits the Log has over Barb Barrel in this matchup for him, and that's pretty huge. So I'm really glad that I was still able to beat it. Bats too are really annoying, but I'm really glad I had E-Spirit. If I didn't have E-Spirit, I wouldn't have been able to do my Fireball, Log, E-Spirit chains onto the Queens. I also might not have been able to get E-Spirit value on the Bats as easily as an Ice Spirit, even though Ice Spirit freezes for longer, which is better against Royal Giant. I think E-Spirit was definitely better overall in this matchup. And so that's why sometimes I use E-Spirit. I get that question a lot as well, and I might make a more in-depth video talking about that kind of difference between the spirits, but I think E-Spirit's just a little more consistent against hard counters, such as this one, or Golem, or Giant Graveyard with Bats, all of that. And so that's why I think it's pretty safe for global tourneys, and that's why I like to use it in global tourneys. But yeah, that's going to do it for the video, guys. Let me know what you thought about this kind of analysis. Again, thank you all so much for all the support recently. It really means a lot, and I want to do my best to keep uploading commentary videos and other videos too, like the special guest features. Up next, I'm probably going to do a ladder video pushing to about 7,000 trophies or so, talking about the new Tesla and Xbow, the state of Xbow after the nerf. I did win a grand challenge with the new Tesla, but ladder is also a pretty good indicator of kind of the state of the meta, I guess, and just I know people prefer ladder over global tourney or GC videos as well, so I want to get a ladder video out. And I do also plan to continue the Road to 112 in Classic Challenges series. That's a series that I enjoyed a lot, and so you can expect that in the next few coming days if you're interested in that as well. But yeah, really appreciate anyone who watched. I hope I was able to help you against one of these kind of impossible matchups. Really frustrating, but there are ways to outplay with Xbow, and it's important to know that. It's important not to give up and throw in the towel. There are always going to be ways you can win, especially against worse players, if you can outplay them. That's part of why I love Xbow so much, just its ability to play these kind of impossible matchups, and skill really can prevail sometimes. But yeah, that's going to do it for the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed, hope I was able to help. Let me know what you thought about it. Let me know any suggestions for other videos. I'm always open to those. And if you'd like another kind of impossible matchup to be looked at in the series, let me know as well, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.